All right, days after performing at an event in support of Donald Trump's inauguration, Snoop finally releases a statement and he says, "I'm still a black man." All right, let's get into it.
Trap music history expert A.R. Shaw.
A.R. Shaw. A.R. Shaw. A.R. Shaw. A.R. Shaw.
A.R. Shaw, author of Trap History, Atlantic Culture, and the Global Impact of Trap Music.
What's going on? What's going on? This is A.R. Shaw, A.R. Shaw TV. Like, subscribe, support any way you can. The author of the book Trap History, Atlantic Culture, and the Global Impact of Trap Music. Definitely check that out. We're going to jump right into it. So Snoop has finally responded after days of catching backlash for performing at an event supported in support of Donald Trump's becoming the 47th president of the United States. Now, what he said initially about Trump years ago in 2017, basically saying that any black person that performed for Trump will be considered, Uncle Tom, Sambo, things of that nature. Myself personally, I would have never used that language, but that was the language that he used. And so in the following days, a lot of people basically went after Snoop saying, how could you do this? How could you, perform with someone whose policies are going to directly impact black communities, which you support, which you come from? And so Snoop had been quiet. If you follow Snoop's social media pages, often he posts a lot of memes. He posts a lot of funny clips. It's really just an assortment of a lot of things that really a lot of times just don't really have anything to do with anything, right? But he finally responded to some of the backlash of, since performing at Trump's crypto ball. And I want you guys to check out this clip.
Answer with love. Y'all can't hate enough on me. I love too much. Get your life right. Stop worrying about mine. I'm cool. I'm together. Still a black man. Still 100% black.
So to quote Snoop, he says, "Get your life right. Stop worrying about mine. I'm still a black man. Still 100% a black man." Now, and I can understand. So this is probably the first time that Snoop has ever had backlash from the culture, from the community. You got to understand, Snoop has been famous for over 30 years. Most people got wind of Snoop in 1992, 1993 on the Chronic and the Deep Cover movie soundtrack, ushered in by Dr. Dre from NWA at the time. And since then, Snoop has pretty much been one of the most prominent rappers in pretty much he's probably considered the most prominent, well-known rapper in history of hip hop. You gotta understand, grandmothers know Snoop, little kids know Snoop. People who have never heard a Snoop album know who Snoop Dogg is, and so he's larger than life in terms of hip hop and hip hop culture. And so you got to understand that this is probably the first time that he's ever experienced this type of backlash from his own community. And I think, with that response, and I'm not trying to psychoanalyze Snoop and get into his mind and say what he's thinking, but just from that response, it appears that he's going through it, he can act like it's nonchalant and things of that nature, but it seems like it's bothering him in some form of fashion, and that's where we at. That he's trying to figure out this next step. Now, personally, I've had several interactions with Snoop. I got an opportunity to interview Snoop years ago. I did a cover story with Snoop for Rolling Out magazine, and it was a cover story with Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa. They both were just cool dudes, and Snoop is probably one of the most down to earth celebrities that you ever would want to meet. I mean, he's someone who doesn't really walk with that air of that he's not with the people. He's always been for the people. He's done things with youth football. I think over 30 or 40 football players who went through his youth football league and made it to the NFL. And so you got to understand that he's done a lot for underserved communities, and so we can't take that away. But at the same time, we can't ignore what's happening with this crypto ball situation in connection with Donald Trump. Now, we have to understand that the reason why Snoop is getting so much backlash opposed to someone like a Rick Ross or a Soulja Boy, or even a Nelly, is because those artists, they don't really hold the same weight. I don't think the community really expects much from Rick Ross. They don't really expect much from Soulja Boy. Nelly to a certain extent, but not as much as Snoop. So when you talk about the culture and the community and why the community disappointed in Snoop, is because they expected more. They had to understand what Trump represents and what he will probably represent for the next 4 years if he's allowed to have his way in office. We can already think, in the first week in office, Trump is basically attempted to get rid of all diversity programs. And a lot of times people don't really understand what diversity means. They don't understand what diversity, equity, and inclusion means. There's a lot of people who just haven't taken the time to understand where it came from, why it's there, things of that nature. I give you guys a really brief history on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it started basically like in the 1970s because initially in a lot of corporate sectors, there weren't a lot of people outside of white men who would get hired for positions of power. It was usually just all white male, right? And so you had these diversity initiatives to kind of broaden what we call the pool for candidates to get hired. And so now you have women, you have individuals in the LGBT community, you have individuals who are disabled, you have veterans. These are all people who fall under DEI initiatives. You have women in particular, when you talk about the diversity initiatives, white women pretty much they benefited most from diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. So you got to understand all this stuff matters, and the reason why it went from okay, let's broaden the pool for candidates to now let's figure out how to make when the individuals who get these jobs now let's have these diverse trainings to understand uh, make these workspaces a little bit safer, a little bit better for everyone involved. And also when in terms of business, when you have a business or a corporation, how do these corporations react to diverse communities in terms of giving back, things of that nature, those initiatives to support those programs that impact diverse communities. And so we saw a lot of that out of those DEI initiatives. And so when Trump says that he's going to roll back diversity initiatives from a federal level, you have to understand it is going to impact a lot of people, not just black people. It's going to impact women. It's going to impact disabled people. It's going to impact veterans. It impacts a lot of people when you roll back diversity initiatives. Um, and so we have to understand that it's not just about someone getting hired. It's also about contracting as well, because there's a lot of, you talk about businesses, most businesses, successful businesses, they get some type of contracting from federal government. A lot of federal government contracts, grants, and things of that nature are disseminated to business owners. And if you're a business owner and you can't get a contract or things of that nature, you're getting discriminated against because of your skin color, then we're gonna see the impact of that. And so that's going to directly impact the communities that Snoop comes from, the individuals in Long Beach, the individuals in Compton who need those federal grants, who need those diversity programs just to get a leg up. And it's not like anybody is getting displaced or someone is losing a job or losing an opportunity because someone from a diverse community is getting those opportunities. That's not happening at all. If you look down the line in terms of the top CEOs, the top corporate execs in the nation, most of those are still white men. So it's not like any individuals are like losing opportunities because of diversity measures. You understand, like if you're a black person, if you're someone, if you're a woman and you get into a position of power from a corporate standpoint, it's most likely you're probably overqualified. And so we have to understand what what diversity, equity, and inclusion means before we attack it. And so, that's what's happening right now with Snoop and his affiliation with this crypto ball and Trump, is that people are upset because of that. These initiatives will really impact, some of these communities that Snoop represents and that Snoop has always represented. And what's going to happen next in terms of, how would the culture feel about Snoop moving forward? Because you have to understand is that you're only as powerful as the culture. Like if the culture turns on you, the corporations are going to turn on you as well. Because if you're no longer cool, if it's no longer cool for Uncle Snoop to be, to push a product, the corporations are going to understand that, and they're going to look and say, okay, all right, this guy isn't cool anymore. Let's figure out who's this next person that we should put out front. And so you just got to understand that this is not going to just be something that he understands that he's just going to feel, and it's like he's done this thing and then he won't feel the impact of it. He could possibly feel the impact of it, in multiple ways. And so I just want to understand that, just don't want people to understand that there's a reason why this backlash has occurred, and Snoop has to understand that as well. Now, if I'm a part of Snoop's camp, this is what I would do. I think you have to come out. You have to really, if you want to continue to have this relationship with the culture, particularly the community that pretty much lifted you up to this level, you got to kind of give back. I think you have to do something. You have to address it head on, and you really have to talk to people, and don't talk down to people. Don't just say, yeah, black people, we're good at tearing each other down, things of that nature. I think you have to be a leader at this point. Um, if you're a leader, we always talk about leadership in sports. If you're Michael Jordan, if you're LeBron James, you gotta be able to respond to the wins and the losses. You gotta be able to have an explanation for everything. And so Snoop just needs an explanation. He really needs to confront what's happening in terms of why he decided to do this crypto ball. If it was because of Trump, a lot of people saying that Trump he pardoned the co-founder of Death Row Records, and that was kind of something where Snoop appreciated that. He appreciated that pardon. But at the same time, it's like, okay, if that is the case, get in front of it, speak to the community, speak to the culture. Don't talk down to the culture because if you talk down to the culture, that's going to make it worse. You can't talk down to people. You can't say that somebody's tearing you down. They're not tearing you down. They're disappointed in a way. And so as a leader, you have to come out and say, okay, I did this because of this. Now, how can I make this right? And I think one of the things that Snoop probably could do to make this thing right is take the proceeds from the whatever he got from the crypto ball, take those proceeds and give back to the victims of the LA fires, because we have a lot of people who are displaced, a lot of people who need just basic clothing, shelter. Give back. You got to give back to the community, and I think if you give back to the community in that way, then I think people will kind of say, okay, all right, you messed up, but you're still a part of us. And I think in terms of just get forgiveness, the black community is always forgiven, but will always forgive. But you have to get in front of it. You can't talk down to people. You can't run away from people. You got to meet this thing head on and say, I messed up. How can I make this right? Give back to the victims of the LA fires. Give back to the people who need it the most. And I think you can move forward from there. But if you continue to say, okay, I'm still a black man, and we all, we're only good at tearing each other down, and you continue to deflect, I think it's going to make things worse. And so I think moving forward, I think that's the best thing that Snoop can do. It's just my little 2 cents. Definitely continue to follow, watch, check out the book, Trap History, Atlanta Culture, and the Global Impact of Trap Music. Follow, like, subscribe, share, comment. Let me know your thoughts. I am AR Shaw. This is AR Shaw TV, and I'm out.